My fiancée left the line open. Her friend asked, "So why are you still with him?" She laughed. "Because he's stupid enough to fund my lifestyle." I just saved the call and waited. I never thought a simple phone call could pull the floor out from under my life. It happened on a Thursday evening. I was at my desk, working through invoices, when my fiancée Kara called me. She said she was going out with friends after work, just a casual night. The call was routine. She asked if I had eaten, told me not to wait up, the usual. But when I hung up, something odd happened. The line didn't actually disconnect. Her phone must have stayed on, and a few seconds later I heard voices through the speaker. I was about to put the phone down when I caught a question that froze me. Her friend, laughing, asked, "So why are you still with him?" There was a pause, then Kara's voice, clear as glass. "Because he's stupid enough to fund my lifestyle." The words echoed in my ear like a slap. I sat motionless, staring at my desk. She wasn't joking. The tone in her voice carried a sharpness I had never heard before. A laugh followed, not embarrassed or playful, but cruel. They talked about how easy it was, how predictable I was. Kara described the things I bought for her, the vacations I planned, the way I paid bills without questioning. Her friends encouraged it, like it was some kind of game. I didn't hang up. I didn't shout. I hit the record button on my phone's app, saving every word. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would break through my ribs, but outwardly I stayed calm. For the first time in my life, I understood that silence could be more powerful than reaction. When the call finally ended, I sat back in my chair. The room felt colder. My fiancée, the woman I thought I'd marry in a few months, was using me like an ATM. And worse, she was proud of it. The next day, Kara acted as if nothing happened. She kissed me on the cheek, made coffee, asked about my schedule. I looked at her face, at the woman I thought I loved, and I wondered how long she had been wearing this mask. The anger inside me was volcanic, but I swallowed it. I knew if I confronted her immediately, she'd twist the story, make excuses, cry until I doubted myself. That's what manipulators do. Instead, I decided to wait. That night, when she fell asleep, I scrolled through her phone. She had always been protective of it, but I had learned her passcode months earlier when she asked me to check a message for her. My hands shook as I opened her apps, scanning through. There wasn't outright evidence of cheating, no explicit messages, but there were late-night texts with her best friend Lila, conversations filled with mockery about how easy Dylan is and how long can you keep him hooked. The betrayal wasn't physical, not yet, but it was emotional and financial. She was draining me, and her friends were in on the joke. Over the next week, I observed her carefully. Kara suddenly needed more money for wedding deposits. She wanted a bigger ring upgrade, a new set of designer shoes, spa trips to prepare for the big day. Every request carried that casual entitlement I hadn't noticed before. And I gave in, just as I always had, outwardly smiling, inwardly recording receipts, screenshots, and logs. But then something happened that made the ground shake even harder. I told her I'd be working late on Friday, but in truth, I left the office early. I wanted to see where she went when she claimed to be with friends. I parked across from a restaurant downtown, the kind of place that charges 3 digits for a glass of wine. And there she was, stepping out of a car, dressed to kill. She wasn't alone. A man in his 50s walked beside her, tall, with silver hair and the posture of someone who owned more than one company. He held the door open for her, and she leaned in, touching his arm like it was the most natural thing in the world. I stayed in my car, watching through the windshield as they disappeared inside. My stomach knotted, but again I didn't act. I didn't storm in or make a scene. I sat there, memorizing every detail, the time, the place, the man. When Kara came home that night, she told me she had been with Lila. She smiled so sweetly, her lies sugar-coated, and I nodded like I believed her. Inside, I was already building a plan. The strange thing about betrayal is how it sharpens your mind. Once you know the truth, every little habit takes on new meaning. Kara started leaving receipts in her purse from expensive places I never knew she visited. She told me she was stressed about wedding planning, but her stress involved champagne brunches with friends and shopping sprees that burned through my card. I stopped seeing her as my fiancée. I started seeing her as a character in a story I was documenting, a puzzle I was solving. Every smile, every hug, every "I love you" was another piece of evidence for the trial I was preparing in my head. But I wasn't the only one watching her. One evening, while walking home, I was stopped by a stranger. He was younger than me, mid-30s, sharp-eyed, and cautious. He introduced himself as Sean. His next words made my blood run cold. "You're with Kara, right?" I nodded slowly, wary. He sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You're not the first. She did the same thing to me." At first, I didn't believe him. But then he pulled out his phone, showing me old photos, Kara with him at the same restaurants, the same trips, the same pattern. He told me how she bled him dry, then dumped him the moment his savings ran low. The details matched too perfectly to dismiss. He warned me, "She'll keep you until she finds something better. Or until you stop paying. That's when she turns cold." I felt sick, but also strangely validated. My suspicions weren't paranoia, they were a pattern. And I wasn't the only victim. That night, lying in bed next to Kara, I stared at the ceiling while she scrolled her phone. She laughed softly at something Lila texted, rolling over with her back to me. And I realized something important. I wasn't going to be her victim anymore. I had the recording. I had the receipts. I had Sean's testimony. Now it was a matter of timing, patience, and execution. I closed my eyes, steadying my breath, and pretended to sleep. But my mind was racing. The game had shifted. I wasn't just the naive fiancé anymore. I was the man planning her downfall, quietly, methodically, while she strutted around thinking she had me wrapped around her finger. And in that moment, I almost smiled. The week after I met Sean, I started to notice a pattern in Kara's behavior that I had ignored before. Every conversation about the wedding seemed less about marriage and more about spectacle. She wanted a venue overlooking the lake, a designer gown flown in from Europe, a honeymoon package in the Maldives that cost more than I made in 6 months. I told her we should maybe scale things down, keep it elegant but manageable. She pouted, then turned cold, accusing me of not caring about her dream day. I apologized, played along, and agreed to start looking into options. What I didn't tell her was that I'd already begun shifting my assets. I opened a separate account, moved savings into it quietly, and put a freeze on joint credit expansions. The cards she carried still worked, but the reservoir behind them was shrinking. I knew I had to move carefully. If Kara sensed even a crack in my compliance, she'd lash out, or worse, abandon the facade before I was ready to pull the ground from under her. Kara's family was another problem. Her parents adored the way I treated their daughter like a queen. Her father, a retired accountant, liked to remind me how smart I was for choosing Kara. Her mother called me the perfect provider. Every dinner turned into a subtle pat on the back for spending more money. It wasn't just blind pride. They were complicit. Her mother hinted that Kara deserved the finer things because she was special. The message was clear. My value was measured in dollar signs. And the friends, God, the friends were worse. Lila in particular treated me like I was invisible unless I was footing the bill. Once, at a group brunch, I excused myself to the restroom, only to return and hear laughter die abruptly when I approached. Kara brushed it off, but I saw Lila's smirk. They weren't just using me. They were performing it like a comedy routine. Sean's warning gnawed at me. If Kara had run this playbook before, then I wasn't just unlucky. I was the next link in a chain. One evening, Sean sent me a series of screenshots from years ago. Kara with him, smiling in luxury hotels, tagged in designer boutiques, the same patterns I was now funding. And then silence, until a final post about moving on from toxic men. The irony stung. He told me he had tried to confront her once. She turned it on him, called him controlling, made him out to be the villain to her friends and family. Within weeks, he was the pariah. She walked away clean, with half his savings. Don't let her write the story first, Sean said. If you do, you'll lose before you start. I kept his words close. The turning point came one night when Kara left her phone charging in the kitchen while she showered. A notification lit up the screen. I wasn't trying to pry, but the preview flashed long enough for me to read. We'll talk details tomorrow. He's not suspecting anything yet. It wasn't Lila's name on the message. It was saved under Mason. My stomach flipped. I unlocked the phone, scrolled quickly, and froze. The messages were carefully worded, never outright incriminating, but the tone was unmistakable. Mason praised her beauty, teased her about their time together, and promised that once she was free of obligations, they could live however she wanted. I put the phone back exactly as I found it. That night, when Kara slipped into bed and wrapped her arm around me, I stared at the ceiling. The reality was clear. She was planning a transition, lining up her next benefactor before she discarded me. Still, I didn't react. I needed her to believe I was blind. When she asked for an advance to pay a wedding consultant, I nodded, transferred the money, and made a mental note of the withdrawal. When she dragged me to taste-testing dinners that cost as much as rent, I smiled, shook hands with the vendors, and quietly confirmed that no contract had been signed in my name. Every move I made was deliberate. I wanted her to think the leash was long, when in truth, I was already winding it around her neck. A few days later, I received an anonymous text. No name, just a number I didn't recognize. You don't know me, but you need to be careful. She's done this before. The message made my skin crawl. It could have been Sean, but the number didn't match. I asked who it was. The reply came minutes later. Someone who learned the hard way. Check her past. You'll see. The phone buzzed again. If you want proof, Watch her on Thursday night. Check the Ivy room at 9. My first instinct was suspicion. It could have been a trick. But curiosity outweighed fear. Thursday came, and I drove downtown, parking across from the Ivy room, a restaurant so exclusive you needed connections just to get a table. At 9 sharp, Kara appeared, dressed in a gown I had never seen before. And there was Mason, stepping out of a black sedan, greeting her with the ease of a man who believed she was his. I recorded everything from my car. Their hug, the way she rested her hand on his chest, the bottle of champagne brought to their table. At one point, Kara leaned close, whispering something that made Mason laugh, his hand brushing her cheek. It wasn't the kiss of lovers, not yet, but it was intimacy no fiancé should share with another man. When Kara came home past midnight, she smelled faintly of cologne that wasn't mine. She claimed she'd been with Lilo again. I kissed her forehead, wished her good night, and saved the video clip onto a hard drive. The deception spread like cracks in glass, invisible at first, but impossible to stop once they grew. Kara talked constantly about how much the wedding meant to her, yet every sentence circled back to money. She wanted the perfect venue, and the perfect ring, and the perfect dress. One Saturday, while flipping through magazines, she tossed a catalog at me and said, "This one's only $22,000. That's reasonable, right?" I laughed, not at the number, but at the absurdity of her shamelessness. She thought it was a joke. She had no idea the laugh came from knowing she wouldn't see a cent of mine when this was over. The pressure mounted when her parents announced they'd invited over 200 guests. They expected me to cover catering, open bar, accommodations, and entertainment. Kara clapped her hands like a child, squealing about how unforgettable it would be. I nodded, excused myself, and went for a long walk. My chest tightened, but not from despair. This was fuel. They had no clue I was dismantling the foundation beneath their feet. The climax of that week came when Kara forgot to sign out of her email on the home computer. While she showered, I glanced through her drafts. One email, unsent but saved, caught my eye. It was addressed to Mason. "After the wedding, I'll have access to everything. He won't even see it coming. We can take the honeymoon together instead, something real this time. Thank you for being patient. Soon I'll be free." I read it 3 times, while rising in my throat. She wasn't just planning to leave me after the ceremony. She intended to use the marriage itself as leverage, drain me further, then vanish with Mason. I didn't delete it. I didn't forward it. I left it there like bait, certain she'd assume it was still hidden. That night, I lay awake beside her, listening to her breathing. My fiancée was planning to betray me at the very moment our lives were supposed to merge. Her family encouraged her greed, her friends mocked me, and another man was waiting in the wings. But I had the call recording. I had the receipts. I had Sean's warning. And now I had written proof. The web of lies was tightening. But what Kara didn't know was that she was the spider spinning herself into her own trap. And I was almost ready to snap the thread. By the time autumn rolled in, I had stopped thinking of Kara as my fiancée. She was a project now, a case study in greed and arrogance. Every smile she gave me was fuel. Every demand she made was another shovel of dirt for the grave she was digging. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger is loud and messy. What I felt was colder, sharper, like ice. Kara began escalating. The wedding, according to her, needed statement pieces. She insisted on hiring a luxury planner who specialized in celebrity events. She wanted imported flowers, a champagne fountain, and a custom ice sculpture of our initials. When she brought me the budget estimate, the number nearly doubled what we had originally discussed. She presented it like she was pitching an investment, her eyes gleaming as if the extravagance itself proved our worth. I nodded slowly, asked a few questions, and told her I'd take care of it. In reality, I canceled the pending transfers, locked down my accounts, and moved the bulk of my money into certificates under my brother's name. Kara thought she had me cornered in obligation, but she was burning credit on a card already cut off from the well. The consultants, the florists, the venues, every contract required my signature. I didn't give it. I let her believe things were moving forward, smiling at her excitement, while quietly ensuring every one of her plans evaporated into nothing more than a paper trail of unpaid promises. Meanwhile, I gathered evidence. The recording of her laughing about funding her lifestyle. Screenshots of her messages with Lila mocking me. Photos of her at the Ivy room with Mason. The draft email promising to drain me after the wedding. Each piece alone was damning. Together, they formed a noose. The arrogance in her grew as if she sensed no danger. Kara started bragging openly to her friends about the life she was building. I overheard her once on the balcony, wine glass in hand, telling Lila she planned to make a move soon, but wanted to lock in the security first. I stood in the kitchen, listening to her laugh, and realized she was already envisioning her future without me. She thought I was a stepping stone, a fool useful only for footing the bill until Mason took over. It was almost beautiful, in a twisted way, watching someone so sure of their dominance, oblivious to the fact that every step was taking them closer to the edge of a cliff. The opportunity came faster than I expected. Kara's parents suggested throwing an engagement party at their estate, a grand celebration for friends, extended family, and business contacts. Kara beamed at the idea, immediately planning her dress, the champagne, the photo sessions. "This is where everyone will finally see how perfect we are," she told me. I agreed. But privately, I knew this was it. The perfect stage. The weeks before the party were a performance. I played the doting fiancé, attending tastings, sitting through decoration meetings, nodding at Kara's endless monologues about her vision. I laughed when she teased me about being clueless in fashion. I kissed her forehead when she showed me fabric samples. She believed every second of it. But while she was parading her fantasy, I was working with quiet precision. I copied the audio file onto multiple devices. I organized the photos into a timeline. I pulled her draft email into a presentation, highlighting her own words. I even obtained witness statements from Sean and another man Kara had left years ago, 2 stories that mirrored mine, complete with receipts and messages. I didn't just want to expose her. I wanted to bury the entire persona she had built. The day of the party arrived. Kara was radiant, draped in a gown that sparkled under the chandelier lights. Guests filled the room, sipping champagne, congratulating us. Her parents strutted around like royalty, basking in the glow of their daughter's perfect catch. I kept a glass of water in my hand, calm as stone, waiting. The speeches began, her father first, toasting our bright future. Lila chimed in with a syrupy anecdote about Kara's kind heart. Kara herself took the microphone, gushing about finding a partner who believes in me, who invests in me, who makes my dreams possible. I smiled, stepped forward, and raised my hand for silence. My turn. The room quieted. Kara handed me the mic, her eyes shining with expectation. She thought I was about to profess undying love. Instead, I connected my phone to the projector. The first slide appeared on the screen, a transcript of Kara's call, the line where she laughed, "Because he's stupid enough to fund my lifestyle." Gasps rippled through the room. I pressed play. Her voice filled the air, crystal clear. Lila's laugh followed. Kara froze, color draining from her face. I didn't stop. Next came the photos. Kara at the Ivy Room, Mason's hand on her back, their champagne toast. Murmurs grew louder, faces turned toward her in shock. Then the email draft. Her exact words in bold. "After the wedding, I'll have access to everything. He won't even see it coming." The crowd erupted, some gasping, some whispering, some outright laughing in disbelief. Her parents looked like they'd been struck with hammers. I let the silence stretch, then spoke into the microphone. "This is the woman I was supposed to marry. A woman who saw me not as a partner, but as a wallet, who planned to take everything and leave. And she wasn't even subtle about it." The whispers turned to open condemnation. A cousin shook his head in disgust. An aunt muttered something about shame. Even Lila, normally smug, looked pale. Kara's mother clutched her pearls, her father staggered back, and Mason, yes, Mason had shown up, hovering at the edge of the crowd, slipped out the door like a thief caught mid-crime. Kara reached for me, her voice trembling. "Dylan, please." I stepped back, microphone still in hand. "Don't. Every person in this room knows now. There's nothing left to explain." The room turned hostile. Guests avoided Kara's eyes. Some shook their heads. Others whispered openly about the scandal. Her perfect image had shattered in seconds, and there was no way to glue it back. I left the mic on the table, set down my glass, and walked toward the door. My heart was steady. Behind me, Kara shouted my name, but her voice cracked. Nobody rushed to comfort her, not even her parents. Outside, the night air hit me like a cleansing wind. For the first time in months, I felt light. When I walked out of that engagement party, I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I knew what was happening inside. Gasps, whispers, stares burning into Kara as her empire of lies collapsed in real time. For months, she had played the role of the perfect bride-to-be, weaving a story where I was her devoted fool and she was the prize. That night, the curtain ripped wide open. I drove home in silence. No music, no calls. Just the hum of the road and the steady rhythm of my thoughts. For the first time in months, I felt untangled. The fallout began the very next morning. My phone buzzed nonstop, calls, texts, voicemails. Some were from Kara, alternating between begging and rage. Others were from mutual friends, half in shock, half in awe at what I had done. Her parents called once, but I didn't answer. Later, I heard from a cousin that they were furious, not at me, but at Kara. Her father's business contacts had been at that party. The humiliation wasn't just personal. It was public, the kind that rippled through social circles and left stains that never washed out. Kara had always cared about her image more than anything. Now, she was radioactive. I went about my days quietly. I visited the bank, finalized the transfers I had started months ago, and closed down the joint accounts. Every cent that remained was under my name alone. When the bills Kara had racked up started bouncing back, the calls went straight to her. By midweek, I got a message from Sean. Heard what happened. Perfect execution. She won't recover from this one. He wasn't exaggerating. Lila, once Kara's loudest cheerleader, distanced herself immediately. I heard through a mutual acquaintance that she told people she had no idea Kara was using me, though the recording proved otherwise. That's the thing about parasites. They scatter when the host dies. As for Mason, the silver-haired replacement, he disappeared as quickly as he had appeared. Whether he saw the footage himself or heard through whispers, I don't know. But within days, Kara was cut off. No more dinners at the Ivy Room. No more promises of luxury apartments. He vanished, leaving her stranded. The messages Kara sent me shifted tones like a storm changing direction. At first, desperate. Please, Dylan, you don't understand. It wasn't what it sounded like. We can fix this. I love you. Then defensive. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. How could you be so cruel? You ruined everything. Finally venomous. You'll regret this. Nobody humiliates me like that and gets away with it. But what could she really do? The evidence was her own voice, her own words, her own schemes. She couldn't spin this one. 2 weeks later, I ran into someone who had been at the party. A colleague of Kara's father. He pulled me aside and said, "That was brutal, but it was the right thing to do. You saved yourself." It struck me then. What I had done wasn't just revenge. It was protection. I had cut the rope before she could drag me off the cliff with her. The true collapse came slowly, piece by piece. First, Kara's job. She had been working at a marketing firm, riding on charm and appearance more than skill. But when whispers of the scandal spread, clients complained. Her boss called it a distraction to the company's image. She was let go within a month. Second, her family. They had built her up like a porcelain doll, parading her as a symbol of elegance. After the party, they couldn't even look her in the eye. Invitations stopped. Her mother, once so proud, started avoiding public events altogether. Her father, humiliated in his circles, cut off financial support completely. Third, her social group. Friends she had flaunted her lifestyle to stopped answering her calls. Lila found a new circle to orbit, leaving Kara in the shadows. The final nail came when I filed a claim for the money she had taken under false pretenses. With the recordings, receipts, and drafts, I had proof. The lawyers didn't even blink. A settlement forced her to pay back what she could, though it wasn't much. What little remained of her savings evaporated into legal fees. I didn't need the money. That wasn't the point. The point was ensuring she couldn't move on unscathed. Months passed. Winter came. One evening, I stopped by a cafe I used to avoid, one Kara and I had frequented. As I ordered, I heard a voice behind me. It was her. Kara looked different. Gone were the designer coats, the glossy hair, the sparkling jewelry. She wore a plain jacket, her makeup faded, her expression hollow. She was carrying trays for customers. For a moment, she froze when she saw me. Her lips parted, like she wanted to say something. But no words came. I nodded politely, nothing more, and walked out with my coffee. That was the last time I saw her. People talk about karma as if it's some cosmic force. In reality, it's cause and effect. Kara believed she was untouchable, that she could use people like tools and discard them when something shinier came along. But lies rot from the inside. When the truth cracks them open, everything falls apart. She laughed once that I was stupid enough to fund her lifestyle. Now she works 12-hour shifts to pay rent on a small apartment. The lifestyle is gone. The friends are gone. The reputation is gone. And me? I walked away with my finances intact, my dignity sharpened, and my future unshackled. I don't regret waiting. I don't regret the silence. Because silence gave me power. And when the time was right, I used it. Sometimes people ask if I miss her. I don't. What I miss is the idea I thought she was, the woman I believed loved me. But that woman never existed. She was a mask, a performance. And when the performance ended, the mask cracked. What I gained instead was clarity. Life moved on. I focused on work, reconnected with old friends, even started dating again months later. Carefully, cautiously. I don't throw money around to prove my worth anymore. If someone wants to be with me, it's not because of what's in my bank account. And Kara? She became a story. A warning. People still whisper about that night at the engagement party, about how the groom flipped the script and exposed everything. I know because I've overheard it at bars, at gatherings, in passing conversations. Her name lingers in those whispers, always followed by pity or scorn. Mine isn't mentioned much, and that's fine by me. The people who matter know the truth. One evening, I sat down with Sean again. We clinked glasses at a quiet pub. You closed the chapter, he said. Yeah, I replied, and made sure she can't write another with me in it. He laughed. She won't recover. Not after that. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. The satisfaction wasn't in gloating. It was in knowing the story had ended on my terms. So that's how it ended. A fiancé who saw me as a wallet, a family who cheered her greed, friends who joined her mockery, all unraveled in one night. Actions have consequences. And when you build your world on deception, the collapse is never gentle. Kara thought she was clever. She thought she'd played me. But the truth is simple. She played herself. And that's the story. If you're still here, that means you're one of us. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. I drop new chaos every single day. And trust me, tomorrow's story, it's even worse than this one.